My name is Philip Roy Hamilton. I was born in Bristol, Indiana, in a house, they call it the Old Coss Home.
Tell me about your schooling.
Well, I started out going to Bristol High School. And started out in the first grade. They didn't have kindergarten at that time. And that would have been in 1941.
Okay, and then did you go to correspondence school or anything?
Yes, I did. After I graduated, I took a correspondence course with DeVry Institute on electronics. That eventually, when I got drafted, got me into the Nike Ajax system on the missile thing because I had that experience on electricity and etc.
Okay, tell me a little more about your military.
Well, I always thought it was a most disorganized organization you could get. But if it was a thing my dad told me, he said it can make you or break you, and that's correct, because in basic training, they got you ready to fight. If they didn't, you would have probably gone AWOL. Because you couldn't take it.
Mm-hmm. When did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from Bristol High School in 1953.
Who were some of your best friends when you were going to school?
Well, I had quite a few of them, really. Keith Corson was one, Gary Odell, Dusty Rhodes, my cousin Lyle Menzies. They were all friends.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were in high school, did you play any sports?
I did. When I was in high school, I played basketball and some baseball. Didn't care for baseball too well.
Okay. Do you remember many of the teachers that were at school during that period of time? Yes,
I do. There was Miss Van Ness, Merle Thompson, Brenton Graham, Helen Kreis, Ruby Koss, Violet Derby, and Verla Miller, I believe it was. Many of them I can't remember.
Sure. When you were going to high school, did you work? Did you work outside of the home?
Yes. While I was in school, I had numerous little jobs, okay? I worked for a while, of all places, it was where Bristol Pipe originated. That was where across the corner from the DX station, they had a Quonset hut. And they done black pipe, they threaded pipe at that time, and I worked for Bud Rimpler. And then also, I was 15 years old, didn't have a driver's license, but I delivered coal and lumber when I worked for the lumber company part-time. And that was, I think I worked for Ed Lutz, was his name. My Uncle Montel also worked there. I could tell you stories about that, unloading cement. I couldn't figure out how come my side was changing so much, and here I didn't figure out that Monty was doing a little more than I was.
Tell me a little bit about your dad's orchard.
Well, my dad started an orchard. He got out of the Navy, and he worked for a couple years for a while there, just, in the factory, but he got a notion. He worked for Pappy Clark at the Bristol Orchards, and he had that in his blood. So he thought he'd just buy a few trees and start out as a little hobby. Well, it developed to be more than that. It was more or less a business in his later years. So, but yeah, he got them from Gurney's. And the thing with my dad there, he had the people that they bought the house from. The guy was a inventor. He was everything. He thought he'd be a mink farmer. And they had all these, it was like chicken wire buried in the ground and all that. So when Dad started to till the ground for anything, he had to dig up all that wire and stuff too. So it was quite a chore.
What year did he plant that orchard? Do you remember?
Yes, my dad started, I think the first planting was in 1946. And then he just, not because my mom really wanted to, but he just kept getting more and more.